Alright, so I'm gonna make my video on vintage G.I. Joe. Um, right now, this is the first part of a two-part video. I'm gonna do, you know, military era, and then I'm gonna do the adventure team era. Um, so these figures pretty much started it all. As I covered in my last video, G.I. Joe was the first toy line to use the terminology action figure for their marketing scheme. So they needed a way to market what was essentially a very cool military doll for boys. They took the base concept of, I believe the story goes at least, they took the idea of an artisan's mannequin for the body of the figure, and they were like, hey, we got to make this figure that you can dress like a soldier, and it'll go wild with the kids. And everybody seems to like it, so they went on with it. And after a, I would imagine probably a pretty uphill battle, considering it was the '60s and their ideas about what young boys should and shouldn't be doing on their free time probably didn't include what everybody at Hasbro looked at as being pretty much like a masculine Barbie. Um, so after a while of convincing, they came up with this. They were originally going to give the figures names. The pilot was supposed to be named Ace, and I think the sailor was supposed to be named Skip, or something. But they eventually just decided to call all of them GI Joe. Also, probably because if you're gonna name them different things and you're not gonna make a new head sculpt for each figure, um, what are you doing? So I'm going to show off the four basic figures that you could buy, give you a general crash course on what it was like to buy a fresh G.I. Joe in the 1960s, and then I'll show off some of the stuff that you could do with your G.I. Joe, and then I'll wrap the video up. So this here is the Fatigues Soldier. Uh, I can brighten the camera a little bit so you can see better. So his uniform, he's got brown boots. They're tall. I have them tucked into the pants. Olive drab pants, an olive drab shirt, and an olive drab cap. Everything matches. The figure underneath is pretty posable, actually. So here, so the first thing I'm gonna mention with G.I. Joe is these plastic caps were initially fabric. Um, Something that, if anyone out there is going to use this as like a collector's guide, first of all, that's a big mistake. Second of all, um, something you got to know is the biggest thing that is going to kill your wallet with this line, if you want to complete the entire line, is going to be the variants. A tag on a shirt could be the difference between a uniform being, $15 or like $75. So you really got to know your stuff um, with this line. So the original figures from 1964 were very, very different from this guy. This is a mid-issue figure. The very earliest figures had cloth hats, so this is an injection molded Fatigues cap. Um, their heads were made of a very pliable plastic that would shrink over time, and they call those guys, when the head is soft and pliable, they call them gummy heads. When the head has solidified and shrunk, it actually forms to the neck peg that is inside of the head, and they call those guys pinheads. So, yeah, that's interesting. It can be kind of funny to look at. I don't have any with me today, but that's okay. So, I will. I don't really know what I'm gonna do with like showing off the articulation here because I don't want to be displaying a nude figure. So I think what I'm gonna do is just take his shirt off, so I can kind of show the basic functions of the figure and the way that it went together. So you've got underneath the uniform, or underneath the shirt. Yes, the pants do come off as well. Um, so immediately you're gonna notice his arm is kind of swinging, and that's because unfortunately he had an accident in combat and his arm broke. No, I actually don't know why it's like that. If I had to guess, there's a disc hinge in this trench right here on the arm. So I'm going to use this decapitated German soldier. So if you look at the end of his foot right there, that hinge, there's this like white disc with a stem coming off of it that's in that hinge, and the rivet goes through it. And I'd imagine there's probably a crack, or maybe it's broken, or there's a piece missing out of the hinge, so the arm is very loose. As you can see, it kind of just does its own thing there. So, yeah, this guy, pretty good shape. I got this from a dude who sells G.I. Joe on Facebook. Great guy. His name is Joe Zeta. If anyone is looking to start collecting, I would recommend checking out his auctions. Um, he has great stuff, a lot of it, pretty good prices, so this is an expensive hobby, so don't go on to his auctions thinking you're going to get a fully clothed figure and everything for like $25, okay? You're probably, just because of the nature of the hobby, this stuff is as vintage as it gets. Probably if you want a decent figure in uniform with the boots and the pants and maybe the hat or a belt, probably going to be paying like $100 or more. That's the way it is. That's again, if anyone out there is looking to collect these, using this as like a beginner's tip, again, that's not what this video is, so you're in the wrong spot. But I will mention here and there like little basic tips for beginners, I guess. Because I don't know, I think this hobby's kind of booming right now. So um, I hear a lot of people talk about, oh, the Joe hobby is coming back, and I hope it does, because it's cool. But getting back to the main focus, so these figures are held together with elastic strings and metal hooks. So there's rivets going through the arms right there, and there's this like metal piece inside there, and there's an elastic band that goes through, and there's another one in the waist, so you can these figures over time, they get floppy, and they have a hard time standing. um that's not what's happening to my figure. My figure just doesn't want to stand today. It's always something on the recording table. But yeah. So this guy, he he has this problem where his legs or his feet are at like different levels, um because the arms like push into the forearm. So, these figures you can fully take it apart, which is nice because if you have a figure that you like a lot and a piece breaks, you don't have to replace the whole figure, you just have to replace the broken part. So, that's really really nice. It's a big luxury. So, you don't have to worry with these guys about like with the basic figure, right? So the nude figure, if a part breaks on that guy, if it's just one part, the average replacement price will probably be like $5 to $7, depending on what it is. If it's like the torso somehow breaks, I don't know how you would break the torso, but if you did, it would probably be like $10 because it's a bigger piece. But for the most part, replacing a broken piece is relatively simple. I might make a video on that at some point. I have a whole bag of parts and a broken figure that I've got to fix, so I might go over that. But for now, I'm just gonna focus on this guy. So, for the most part, all of the key figures, the main four, are pretty similar. He's fallen down. So for the most part, I'm gonna call them key figures. The 4 key figures are pretty simple. They're almost all the same. These things were sold with options of 4 different hair colors, so you could get one with brown hair, black hair, red hair, or blonde hair. The blonde and I think the brunette, yeah, have brown eyes, and then the ginger and the black-haired figure have blue eyes. So there's your variations. Um, I might make a follow-up video on variants just because there's so much. I'm probably not going to cover it today because if I did, the video would end up being like an hour long, and no one wants to sit through all that. So, we're just going to go over the basics here. But yeah, the boots, keep an eye out for the condition of boots. It's not really that big of a deal, in my opinion. I don't mind damaged boots. Some people do, some people don't mind. I'm the kind of guy who doesn't really care. So, mine are in pretty good shape on this figure. The bottoms are a little bit rough, on the left one, but again, I mean, these things are like 60 years old, man. You're not going to expect, perfect quality and not pay a lot of money. And for this guy, I didn't pay a lot of money, so I actually got this figure from Josetta. I think I got him for $70, which is pretty good. So, yeah, that's this guy for the most part. Basic soldier. I'll put his shirt back on, make him look a little more presentable. So, I mean, he's not perfect, but I like him a lot. He's, Josetta calls this guy a backyard hero because he's seen some backyard battles. These guys are played with outside. You could buy when you bought a figure, it came with a owner's manual, pretty much, that was like how you can play with your figure. Which if anyone who collects import figures like SH Figuarts, Mafex, Amazing Yamaguchi, maybe Hot Toys, I'm not exactly sure, but they all come with owner's manuals, so it shows you, like, at least I think, a couple of the figures that I have from those companies came with, like, instructions. I think they did, at least, I don't know, I'll have to check up on that, but this guy basically came with a booklet that was also kind of like an advertisement, on all the stuff that you could buy to make your figure super awesome, and, it's pretty cool, but that it shows you like how to make a foxhole, how to dig a trench, all that stuff for your GI Joe, and I think that's pretty cool. These things were like really, really focused on getting your figures outside, which is probably why a lot of them are damaged, right? So, thanks a lot, Hasbro. But no, but it's a very, very cool concept, and I'm gonna bring in the next figure here. Actually, no, before I do that, I'm just gonna show off really quickly. On this figure, in my actual collection, I took his gear off, just for the filming, but I'll put it back on so you can see some of the options on what you have to buy. So, if you want sort of like a heavy weapons kind of thing going on, you can get this this flak jacket here for your figure. So it's got the bullets on the torso, and it covers the figure. And then, of course, you can't really have the flak jacket without more gear, right? It doesn't really look that good, just the jacket on him. So, you can put something like a cartridge belt on him, and I'm putting that on right now behind the camera. So, there's the cartridge belt on his waist. I'll put his arms up so you can see. But it has the 4 ammo pouches on the side there. These do open. I'm not going to do it because you are risking breaking the little, like, ball that holds the pouch down. But yeah, so that's just some of the cool stuff that you can get for your soldier. I am going to show off another figure that has a soldier uniform on. And then you could also get grenades, which are really small, and are probably, I don't actually know how much grenades run. I usually, if I get them, they came with a figure. But there's the grenade. It's a frag grenade, of course. I put it on his belt usually hanging by the lever. I don't know how like accurate that is to real life, but I think it looks appropriate. So that's kind of how I like to have the belt set up if anyone's looking for, cool tips for beginners. So, yeah, there you go. There's the soldier. He's not going to stand, so I'm just going to hold him. There's the soldier. I'm going to bring in the Marine next. I don't display this Marine with any gear in my collection. So, this isn't my like box display Marine. I display my figures in the boxes that they would have come in. But yeah, so here's the Marine. I think he probably has my favorite uniform for any figure. I like the camo. There's a lot of different options for the camo and what you can get for the camo. So, yeah, the Marine has a lot more of an appealing like design, I think. But the Marine probably has the more expensive, some of the more expensive figures to get. You have the Tank Commander is a pretty expensive figure. You've got the Marine Jungle Fighter is a pretty expensive figure. So a lot of the stuff for the Marine and for the soldier are just like gear to go onto the uniform. There's not a lot, at least that I'm aware of. I'd have to check this website that you can go to for. It's basically like an online dictionary, I guess you could call it, of GI Joe. It's like an online encyclopedia um, for GI Joe, and it's called 3D Joe's. I'd have to check again, but I believe that this figure is like for the most part with the Marine and the Soldier, you just have the basic figure, and then most of the big sets are either gear for that figure, so like sandbags and a tent or something, or it's stuff to go onto their uniform, not like a separate uniform. So there's the Marine. He, of course, the fatigues. It's the same figure. This guy's a redhead. He's got the blue eyes. He kind of looks like me, actually. So, I'm not flipping the camera around. I don't want you to see who I am. But, there's the black boots. Tall black boots. The soldier, of course, came with tall brown boots. I believe the soldier is the only figure that came with tall brown boots out of the box. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. I don't think I am, but I might be. It's happened a couple times. So, I think this is actually a later issue uniform because I don't even know if this is a Marine uniform, to be honest, because I think it's supposed to have pockets on the shirt, but I'm not sure. Again, if anyone knows, let me know. I'm not 100% positive on that, but very similar figure to the soldier. I have a Marine as well to show off here in a bit, but I'm going to move him on out and bring in the sailor. So here's the sailor. He's kind of dressed like Minecraft Steve right now, but he has blonde hair. Little purchasing advice for the sailor is most of these hats, this is the OG sailor hat, most of these hats are completely solidified and actually shrunken. And I believe if you want to get it onto the figure, you have to heat it up, like boil it in hot water or something. I don't know. This hat is still pliable. I don't know if this isn't vintage. It's not stamped on the inside, so it might not be vintage, but, it looks good on him, so that's all I really care about. Blonde figure, of course. He's got the shirt and pants looking very good. This figure does actually have pockets on the butt. So you can see there, the pockets. Pretty cool, pretty cool. I don't think... No, some of the uniforms I think that were sold on card backs. So that's something I should mention, actually. Um, you could buy these figures on a card backer, or not the figures. You could buy the uniforms for the figures on a card backer. That was just like a GI Joe card, and they had different cards for like the soldier, the marine, the sailor, and the pilot. And yeah, it's pretty cool. But I believe on the uniforms that came on the card backers had sewn in pockets, so they just threw stitching on the pants where the pockets would be. There's not actual pockets. You know, this pocket on his torso, I believe, is actually functional. Let me test it with this screwdriver here. Um, no, it's not. It's sewn shut. I can't get this in there. But I think some of them are functional. Um, so if I have any, then you'll know. But yeah. So this pocket here is not functional. But the figure I think does look pretty good. Next to the Marine, the Sailor is probably my favorite, just because of how like clean and professional he looks. Um, you know, the Sailors have always been like one of my favorite like branches of the GI Joe collection. So you know that's kind of a given with this figure. But yeah, that's pretty much him. I might have already shown this off, but he has the black boots, tall black boots like the Marine. These are not vintage. These are aftermarket. I think they might be reproduction from the 40th anniversary line, but they look a little too thin. I don't know. They could be Cotswold, but I don't think they are. Cotswold, if anyone doesn't know, which I'm assuming if you're watching this video, you probably don't know. Cotswold is a company I think out of Texas. Maybe. It might be out of Texas. I don't know. But they make, like, I guess you could call them reproductions. I don't want to call them bootlegs because that's kind of offensive. Some people would call them bootlegs. I personally wouldn't. They make, um, like, non-licensed reproductions, pretty much, of vintage G.I. Joe stuff, and they have their own line where they kind of, like, take the G.I. Joe concept and they bring it, you know, farther. It's pretty cool. They put out a lot of cool stuff. They make their own figures. So if you're looking for any reproduction parts and you don't want to spend, you know, maybe $15 on a pair of boots or whatever, you can go to Cotswold and get a pair there for like, I don't know, like I think they're like $5 for a pair of boots. They just don't look quite as good as vintage, but I mean for the price you can't really go wrong. Unless if you are a hardcore vintage collector and want that kind of thing. So yeah, but that's the Sailor. I'm gonna bring in the pilot next, and then we'll get on to the actual, you know, really cool part of the video. So the pilot here is the last like variant figure. So this figure has black hair. So take the cap off so you can see. My lights are a little bit bright. I might have to do some messing around with that, but he has black hair, blue eyes. I didn't mention, I did mention, but I was gonna mention it again. The ginger again, red hair, blue eyes. The blonde hair, brown eyes. So that's that. Um, the pilot is pretty cool. You can get. I think he's the only figure to have an actual color change in his fatigues. Because I believe the pilot was sold with an orange jumpsuit or a yellow jumpsuit. I might be wrong on that. I don't actually know that for sure, but I think he was. I have mine displayed in the yellow because I think it looks cool. And he did come with a blue. It's just a blue mold of the Marine and soldier fatigues cap. So it's the same mold, just blue. I think the yellow and blue looks really, really striking on a shelf. So even if it's wrong, I'm probably going to still leave it. The pilot would have come with tall black boots, but mine are actually short black, as you can see there. So they don't go up all the way. But that's okay, you know, not every figure can be perfect. And, I mean, honestly, that's really about it. There are some variations to the jumpsuit. I think some earlier versions have, like, a clasp that goes along the side. I don't know what that's actually for. So I'm not going to try and guess, because if I'm wrong, then I'll be spreading misinformation. Also, I think I did mention this in my other video, but some G.I. Joes look a lot like JFK. So that's probably worth mentioning, just because it's kind of interesting. But yeah, so that's that's the pilot for you. So I'm gonna start where we began, I guess, and I'm gonna bring in the first like separate equipment option that you had for the soldier. So for the soldier, you could buy the set. I believe it was called Ski Patrol, and it's basically um, an Arctic figure. So you've got like I guess like a mountain division figure. He's dressed all in white. I'm getting his gear on right now, so excuse the emptiness. You can look at my battle damaged stormtrooper right here while I make this. That figure's custom. I was gonna make a video on it. I might still do it, but it's gonna wait a little bit because I decided to make GI Joe videos, and I'm the boss around here, you know. So that's the video will come out though. Don't worry. But unless if you don't want to see it, if you don't, you know how to tell me. So it helps the YouTube algorithm. But I'm trying to get these ski poles in his hands. I might just kind of cheese it and lean him into his hands. So this is the Ski Patrol figure. This is definitely one of my favorite soldier figures that you could buy. Looks really, really good. There's some foam padding in that helmet just to make it, a little bit nice looking on his head so that it's not covering his eyes or whatever. It keeps it kind of in position. Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot I can really say. This uniform can be very yellow, so keep an eye out for that. It looks really bad if it's all stained. Um, I forget what you can use, but there's this cleaning powder that removes stains, and me and my dad had another one of these figures, and we washed it in that uniform, in that powder stuff, and it kind of took that miscoloration, took it out of the uniform. So it's pretty good. I recommend it if you have anything that like any figure clothes that need washing. Definitely use that stuff. It's worth it. Um, but yeah, I think he would have had a white rifle, which I have here. Most rifles have a broken trigger or trigger guard, so this one does, um, which is okay. That's fine. But I think he would have come with a white rifle. I don't know. Um, And yeah, that's pretty much all I can say about this guy. Really, I mean the figure speaks for itself. He is wearing tall black boots. Almost all of the military figures had tall boots. So yeah, it comes with the snowshoes. Those are on his feet. Ski poles, of course. He did come with actual skis, but those are a little bit more delicate pieces, so I didn't bring them. I don't have them in this video. But yeah, so that's him. I think you could also put the cartridge belt on the figure, but I didn't. Then the next figure I showed off, I believe, was the Marine. So here is the Marine Medic coming at you. This is one of my favorite figures in my collection, for military era at least. That is not the right helmet. I just think it looks very striking, so I left it on him. But yeah, you can see how having a pad is really nice in the helmet because this thing kind of likes to wobble around. So, yeah, he has the two medic cross bands on him. He has a gunshot hole in the knee, the med kit on his belt right there, and the medic pouch. He's holding some gauze. He's got this bag on his back. That's like his medic pouch. And he would have come with a stretcher and two crutches and a medic flag. So he came with a lot of stuff. It's best to have two of these guys. It can be a pretty cheap figure, actually, like, for the amount of stuff that it comes with. As someone who knows a lot about it, at least, you would think that it would be like, $400 with all that stuff, but it's actually a relatively affordable figure for the amount that you get. And I mean, you don't have to buy it all at once, right? Like, this isn't like buying an action figure like a Marvel Legend or something where it's one item, right? You can buy pieces and build your figure over time so you're not swallowing that $250 pill, whatever, all at once. So that's really all I can say about him. Of course, everything is functional. The med kit right there, I'm not going to take it out because it's kind of a pain to get back in. But it would have had a back on it, and you could, like, kind of play, the repair or the surgery or whatever. And his bag also does open, but I put foam in it so it can keep its shape. I recommend that for anybody who is, wondering how do I keep my GI Joe bags looking nice and full, and that's how I would recommend doing it because it definitely looks better. The next figure up here is the Shore Patrol. This is a very interesting figure. I am missing the tie. He's supposed to have a tie that goes around his shirt. I'm missing it, but I didn't used to like this figure. But actually, after getting it, I like it a lot more now. I guess that's just kind of how these things work sometimes. It's pretty cool. He's got a unique set of fatigues. So the helmet is from Cotswold Collectibles. I don't have a vintage one. I don't know how much a vintage one is, actually. Maybe I would get one if I could find one for a good price. But, yeah, the bag right there says U.S. Navy. Well, it's USN, but, U.S. Navy. He's got a zipper alongside his uniform so you can get it on the figure. And then something that I think is actually pretty cool is they gave him like a crap hatch, pretty much. So you can, this video is not for kids, by the way, but you can undo this hatch. And there's his butt. So, yeah, that's pretty funny. And yeah, I think that's actually accurate to the uniform, and it's sewn up in the front there, so you can see that. There's stitching. It's very accurate, they left no details unturned, as you can very clearly figure out. But yeah, I love this guy. He looks great on display. Very unique looking figure. There's not a lot of figures in the collection that look like this, so it's pretty cool. But I'm going to move him out and bring the last figure in, which is probably my second favorite figure that I brought along with me today, which is the Landing Signal Officer. I got this guy for Christmas. Actually, I got most of these for Christmas. The Shore Patrol and the Ski Patrol I got for Christmas, along with this figure. This figure looks really cool. I'm not going to lie. Very, very unique looking figure. Sorry about the fuzzy flying around on the camera. I don't know what he's doing here. But, yeah, the like bright pink and orange striping on the tan jumpsuit is really cool. The headdress is cloth. It does have a pair of goggles. The elastic on my goggles is really stretched out, so I've got to fix that. Has a headset that can actually come off, all of that. And it's really, really nice. I love this figure. It's very well made. They clearly put a lot of time into designing this. And I just think, I guess to kind of conclude the video on a very high note, ending it with this figure. This is a line that I really don't think you're ever going to see again, because this level of effort would not be put into figures again. I don't think you're ever going to see another toy line like this, where a company is going to go above and beyond and go out of their way to make it as accurate as possible, and also keeping it durable so that kids can play with it. These things have survived 60 years. I would probably wager that most of the toys made today, if they were made with the same intentions that these figures were made with, to be played with outside and all that, they would not survive as long as these have. So, yeah, that's really says a lot about this line. You know, the time they put into it. I think this is a line that was designed by people who genuinely really cared about what they were doing, and that's pretty cool. You know, that's pretty cool that they weren't just doing it for money. Um, so that's about it for GI Joe in this video. I am gonna make a video. My next video is either going to be on the GI Joe Adventure Team or it's going to be on Gundam. I've got this guy here that I'm working on right now. A pretty cool figure. Uh, so that's might be the next video, or the Adventure Team might be it. I'm gonna leave you with this custom battle damaged stormtrooper here with some blood and mud on him. So yeah, there you go. That's the GI Joe video for you, the first part. So the second part will be out. Keep an eye out for that. If this kind of content is something you like, let me know. The Toy Biz video did very well the first time around, so that makes me think that people like watching this. So, yeah, that's about it. I'll see you in the next one.